Welcome to Story Lounge. It's 1960s Australia, a time of change, challenge, and a fight for justice. Our story follows Charles Perkins, a visionary with an unbreakable spirit who would stand up against racial discrimination and transform the course of history for Indigenous Australians. Today, we honor his legacy and bravery. This is the story of a young man who dared to dream of freedom and justice for his people. Charles was born in 1936 in Alice Springs, an area filled with a unique mix of culture, beauty, and hardship. He was part of the Arrernte and Kalkadoon nations, growing up amid discrimination and poverty. Despite the challenges, young Charles held on to big dreams. He wanted a life beyond survival, a life of purpose and respect. Soccer became his escape, a place where he felt equal, where he felt powerful. His talent eventually earned him a scholarship to Sydney University, marking him as the first Indigenous man to attend an Australian university. Charles was on a path few had walked before. At university, Charles began seeing the larger picture. His people faced injustice and discrimination daily, from being banned from local swimming pools to receiving lower wages. The fire of activism sparked in him, and he joined with like-minded friends who were ready to take action. Then came the idea of the Freedom Ride, an event inspired by the American Civil Rights Movement. But this wouldn't be happening in the United States. No, Charles was bringing the fight home. In 1965, Charles and his friends boarded an old bus, determined to expose the racial injustices hidden in plain sight across rural Australia. They would be documenting these injustices, protesting against segregated facilities, and calling for equality. Charles was ready to take on the system. As they rolled into town after town, they saw the harsh reality. Indigenous Australians were denied basic rights, forced to live on the outskirts of towns, cut off from opportunities and dignity. One of the most intense moments came in the town of Moree. Indigenous children were banned from the public swimming pool, a blatant act of segregation that Charles was determined to challenge. With courage, Charles led the children to the pool, demanding entry. The crowd erupted in protests, shouting insults and threats. But Charles stood firm. He wasn't just fighting for a swim, he was challenging a symbol of systemic racism. The Freedom Ride wasn't without its dangers. Charles and the other students faced hostility and even violence. Yet Charles pressed on. His courage and resilience inspired countless Australians, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, to stand up and demand justice. The Freedom Ride drew national attention. Newspapers covered the story, and Australia was forced to confront the deep-rooted racism within. Charles had achieved what he set out to do. He had sparked a conversation that could no longer be ignored. The impact of the Freedom Ride rippled far beyond 1965. It became a catalyst for major changes, contributing to the 1967 referendum that finally recognized Indigenous Australians as part of the country. Charles never stopped fighting. He served as an advisor on Indigenous issues, constantly working for better healthcare, education, and rights for his people. His life was a testament to courage and the belief that one person truly can make a difference. Charles Perkins' legacy lives on. He showed the world that standing up for what's right isn't always easy, but it's always necessary. Today, young people continue to be inspired by his journey, remembering that change starts with those who dare to envision a better future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Charles Perkins' life, a life that challenged injustice and inspired change. If Charles' story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video to help keep his legacy alive. Remember, even the smallest actions can light the path toward freedom and justice. Together, we can honor his vision and continue the journey for a fairer world.